Good morning, traders. TG Watkins here. It's July 27th when I'm recording this. Hope you guys are doing well. We have been enjoying our weekend. My wife and I have been out at her family's cabin for the week. It's kind of the South Puget Sound beach weather. It's been sunny. It's been great. Had a couple friends over and some family. So we're ready to kind of get back into the swing of things. It's going to be a normal week for me. But if you guys look here, it is a big week for earnings and a big week for some economic news. And we got FOMC this week. So it could get a little nutty. We're going to have to see. I am still a little bit cautious out there. That's basically the thing that I keep telling all the Moxie subscribers is, we're bullish, but a little bit cautious. I have started to put on some short positions. Some of them are working, some of them are neutral, and then behind a little bit on the SPX trade because I can't believe it, but that thing keeps going up. It's kind of crazy, but we'll talk about that. We're going to be talking about how the meme short squeeze, fired off last week. And usually when you see something like that, that tends to be kind of an end of cycle situation. Basically, the idea is that, the market's been up for so long, everyone's got extra cash and excess cash. And then all these names are so high that the risk to reward of keep going long on these names is kind of, wearing out. And so they take a little bit of their profits. They've got plenty of house money to work with. And then they start to cycle it into names that have not moved up yet. And then also they're going to squeeze all the shorts out. And so, Wall Street Bets comes in there, starts tackling them, and we start seeing these ridiculous moves in some garbage names. And as I said, usually that tends to be towards the end of a bull cycle. So just kind of putting that out there as a gentle nudge. We'll see if that actually means anything this time, and we'll talk about that. I did actually try to do that on Wolf. I think I missed that short squeeze window. I had all the right ingredients, but didn't quite make it. And then we do have negative, or at least bearish week seasonality coming up in August. I'll show you guys that too. I just did come back from the, I think it was last week or so, the Las Vegas Money Show. So that was a fun time. It was the symposium, so it was a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate. That was fun. So I'm up here giving the presentation about the 2,060% gain trade that I made on SOXL at the bottom of the market from the tariff tantrums. So that was a cool time. And then I just wanted to run over and show you guys some of the recent gains. We cashed in the rest of our Robinhood. For those of you in the Moxie room, I actually was wrong about our entry. I said we made over 200%. We made over 300%. So I went back and actually looked at the entry on that thing. We made 330% on the leveraged ETF trading stock alone, not even options. And then Rocket Lab, same thing. And that is without the leverage ETF. This is just stock on the non-leveraged stock. So that's 122%. A-Lab, we did trade some calls. We took a little bit of profits just in case. So we made 120% on that. SoFi, we took more profits on this because, well, it's pretty high and it has earnings coming up. So I wanted to cash a little bit more in. So we made 96% on the leverage ETF of that. Open, this is Open Door. We actually put some puts on this one, and we took half off this week for plus 38% gain. And then, as I told you guys, we tried doing the short squeeze, the meme stock on Wolf, and it didn't work out. Minus 12% on stock, no big deal. And then SoundHound, this is the leverage ETF of SoundHound, and it was up for a day, and then it was down for a day, and you can see that SoundHound's mostly just going sideways right now. But again, I feel cautious about this market, so when it started to get hit, I just said, look, I'm going to get out. So minus 8% on that. Not too bad compared to the big winners that you can see here. So let's dive into a few things. Kind of minimize this, and this will be the list that we go through in the stocks that we talk about today. So let's see. Oh, and then remember, educational purposes only, like and subscribe. That way you can kind of see more about the YouTube videos. All right, as far as this, let's go over to, well, just remember, big earnings week, okay? A lot of stuff going on. We need to know that your stock is having earnings because you don't want to be surprised, and it's a choice if you want to stay in for that, okay? Plus, we have FOMC. We'll see what they do. I don't think they're expecting to cut rates, so it should stay normal, but we'll have to see what they actually say during the Q&A. All right, as far as seasonality, we know July, huge month, right? It just won't quit. So just a ginormous bullish month for July, but then look what happens in August. And, this makes sense because as you got to remember is that when the market goes up in a big way, or even stocks just go up in a big way, they have to usually rest and then they usually pull back and consolidate as people take profits. So you get the ebb and the flow. And you get the flow, here's the ebb, flow, ebb, flow, ebb, flow, ebb, flow. So it just means that after really, really big times, people take profits and we have to reset and recycle. It's unlikely to think that the market's just going to keep going straight up. And so that's why you can see that there's a little bit of a bearish week seasonality after July, usually to consolidate all the moves that have happened. You can see here also August tends to, not be awesome. And we might even get a little bit of weakness into September, but basically we should be prepared that with such a massive month for July, there's gonna be some backing and filling and some consolidation. So that's another view. And you can see over here, there's just another seasonality chart to show you that, this one's actually showing you that the end of July is a little bit weak, and then it kind of transitions into the early August, but basically the same kind of idea. Generally around now to August is going to be a little bit weak as the market starts to cash in all of its gains and winnings that it's had. So that's kind of the seasonality that I see. And then we talked about the short squeeze, the craziness, all those meme stocks were going through the roof. I'm going to show you a couple of them in through here. Okay, so let's look at the SPX. And if we kind of look over here, the only other thing I can kind of mention on the weekly chart is that we're starting to get a little bit far from some support and some moving averages. I know the Moxie indicator is firing right here. That's okay. It's a weekly chart. We can still pull back. And in fact, I really, really welcome a pullback. I feel like I've been saying this for 3 weeks now. So the Moxie indicator, that's good. It's fired. Just at this point on the weekly chart, any kind of pullbacks, it's going to be fine. I'm really happy about that. The other major thing that I'm really looking at is that the Moxie indicator has been below zero for a week or two at this point. Even though price continues to move up, the Moxie indicator remains under zero. It might fire, like it kind of started to fire on Friday. It might fire this week, but if it does, and if it paints, it's going to be a late fire. So we'll have to see if that actually means something in the next few days or a couple weeks. But basically the fact that it is firing so late, I'm not really going to be looking at it. In fact, what we might see is if it does fire, we'll get a green, and then we might immediately get a red sometime later. So kind of be careful up here, despite what the Moxie indicator is telling you. What you're really looking at is the fact that the Moxie indicator has been persisting below zero for quite some time. You can see we got that here for a while, and we did eventually get a pullback, and it was tiny, but that was still an early part of the bull market. I feel like we're a little long in the tooth as far as this bull market goes. Of course, stick with what's winning. There are still plenty of names that are going up. But I'm starting to kind of see that there's some mixed results out there, and anything can happen during earnings season. Okay, so let's see, we got that. There's the SPX. Oh, and then just one other thing to kind of point out here about the SPX is it is bumping up against the 30 ATR again. Again, that doesn't mean it has to come down immediately. It's just kind of telling you we're kind of up at this upper range, that it doesn't tend to really like to stay up there for too long. So just some context to tell you guys about. And if we look at the RSP, we've been looking at this one. This is kind of what I'm talking about with a late fire. And also we've just been seeing the Moxie indicator really not doing too much. We've had some up moves, but for the most part, it's kind of just been oscillating around zero for a while. And you can see we're kind of extended again. For the hourly chart, I'd at least like to see what happens when price and the hourly 50 meet. So whether that is sideways like a bull flag and the moving average comes up, or if price pulls back. I do think we need to just kind of be cautious out there and aware of this and everything else that I've been talking about. It has been taking weeks. I mean, this market has been extremely strong. And so I just want to, want to protect myself. So I've been taking profits. We've got a couple short positions, being careful like that. All right. And then if we look at the NASDAQ, this is another thing where we're starting to see some things on the hourly Moxie indicator start to show up. So you can see back here, we saw the Moxie indicator below zero for a while. We did get a bit of a pullback, but you can see here, we are getting the Moxie indicator below zero again for several days, a couple weeks, even though price has been moving up. So this is cautious to me. I don't like what's happening here, and the Moxie indicator, I trust it. Sometimes it takes time because remember, it's a momentum-based tool, and the momentum for the market is still pretty up. And so somehow they're keeping this market propped up, and I'm just kind of wondering what the news is going to be when it starts to come down, because we know eventually it will. This market markets do not go up forever. It feels like it's been forever, which has been great. We have been making a ton of gains out there, but I just don't want to be surprised when or if the market actually does start to come down a little bit. All right, IWM, this is another situation. We can see here that it's basically having a hard time trying to get past this previous high area for it. And then you can see again, the Moxie indicator has been persisting below zero. You can see for it, anytime that it has dipped below, we did get some pullbacks through here. So the fact that it is up is starting to kind of be a contrarian situation that it is pressing higher even though the Moxie indicator is lower below zero. And so just another thing to be looking for and be like, yeah, a little cautious out there. Okay, and then if we look at the Dow, you can kind of see the same thing here. The Dow is up at its previous high, and you can see that the Moxie indicator on the hourly chart is also below zero, even though price is above the 50. So again, just kind of seeing some negative momentum indications out there. Of course, none of these things have really broken down yet, but it is something to be aware of. And now if we look at the SMH, this one too looks like it has finally also come back down. So you can see not only has the Moxie indicator been trending lower for several weeks, it's now below zero, and the price is below the hourly 50. Now, I've been telling the Moxie crew and anybody else who's on the mic with me that yes, if this is going to be a continuation to the long side, usually price comes into the 21 and continues to go higher. But if this is going to be the start of a move coming down to the downside, you come into the 21 first, you try to bounce for a little bit, and then if you break the 21, then that is confirmation to the downside. So this coming week or next week, start looking to see if price breaks below the daily 21 and or if price stays below the hourly 50. Once again, the Moxie indicator on the semiconductors is very far below zero. That's actually pretty substantially below zero. And you can see it's been very red for the last week or more. So more kind of cautious indications that I'm seeing out there. And if you look at the FNGS, this is the leverage. This is just the regular ETF of the FANG stocks. I do this because it hasn't been interrupted like the leveraged one has been. And again, I'm seeing the Moxie indicator below zero and price over the hourly 50. Obviously, this can persist for a while, but it's a heads up. We'll have to kind of be aware that this is happening. It seems to me that energy and momentum starting to wear out on the upside, but of course nothing's really kind of broken as far as the indices. Individual stocks I've been seeing come down, individual stocks I've been seeing go up. So it feels like a mixed bag out there, and so I'm kind of just starting to take profits and be cautious out there. Okay, if we look at breadth. Oh, and this reminds me, we have the end of the special is starting to come up. So this special where we are talking about a monthly subscription into the Moxie Room, so very low commitment, $197 compared to $247. We don't run these usually, and it is going to be ending at the end of July, so July 31st. You have this week, basically until Thursday, in order to pick up this deal. The next two installments that we're going to be doing is how to pick good stocks, because if you've been in the Moxie Room, I've been picking these stocks and then they pop within a few days. And then how to trade longer term. And I think that the longer term class will set up very nicely, because hopefully we start getting a little bit of reset in the market, and then we can start collecting some of these longer term names that I think are going to be doing pretty well in this market, and the timing should be really, really good. Plus, we have the ETF and the Moxie setups already there. So if you sign up, you get those backdated classes as well. So just remember, the end of this special is coming up. All right, let's come over here and look at breadth. And clearly, we have been seeing that the market is just absolutely straight up. We know that. And the only thing I can point through here, I was kind of looking for it here. You can see that we did start to get a little bit of move down in the breadth readings, but then they reversed. They did pop back up. And so just this market just won't quit, will it? The only thing I can really point out right now, and we'll have to see how this continues to shake out over the next week or two, is that as the market continues to go up, we are seeing lower highs in this indicator, and we are starting to just barely see lower highs on the 50-day breadth reading as well. So nothing super conclusive, because you can see any kind of pullbacks have been bought, but eventually I am looking for this thing to trend lower, and I really would like to see these things actually really get much lower in order to help reset the market. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what that looks like into the future. All right, and then if we look at the VIX, we look at through this thing, not much to say. There's really not much to say in through here. The only thing that, like if we look here, this last one right here where I was looking for a little bit of support, you can see clearly that broke down. So again, the market is still going higher. The only thing I can really point out here is that when the VIX tends to get extended, it does at least revert back to the mean. Now, if that turns into an up move, it's yet to be seen, but it is something to be aware that you can see these three areas where the VIX was extended, and it did kind of turn back up just because it had a big move to the downside. This kind of goes with the whole ebb and flow situation I was talking about with seasonality earlier. But yeah, as far as any kind of triggers or anything else like this. The last trigger that we had back here, that was it. And then now I'm waiting for a fresh trigger. So I just don't see anything yet, but it can show up pretty quickly. And then if we look at the UVIX, same kind of deal. There's really not much going on here. I'm seeing potential, but nothing to really work with. There was kind of a move here. There was a bigger move here, and I just have to wait and see if there's going to be anything here. It's too early to tell. But the only thing I can say is, right here, right here, right here, those were at least similar areas, and you can see that the trajectory did transition to slightly sideways to slightly up. So we'll have to see if one of these days the VIX actually does something, but that will be in combination with the market actually moving down. All right, let's look at some individual names. TEM. Now, I know that a few traders in the Moxie room were getting kind of nervous about this one. I did actually say right around here that I thought that was going to be the bottom. It took another day or two, but then it did turn around. I have not put any more on this. If I wanted to get more aggressive, I would have gotten more aggressive right there. You can see the Moxie price trigger. But I'm still a little bit clouded by what I think is happening with the market. So I didn't really want to size up on this thing right when I thought that the market was kind of going to get weak too. So, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this thing starts to explode. We already have a position, and so I'm pretty fine with that position. I'm just looking to figure out where I can add more if this thing is going to go. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place on this one. I am happy that it found support and is moving up, and it is set up if it wants to go higher. But I think most of these names are going to be affected by market condition, which is why I'm being a little bit careful on this one. Now, BitX, which is the leverage ETF of Bitcoin, so it's just a view. Of course, trading under the GBTC or IBIT is going to be a little bit more, linear to see because there's no leverage in them. But I just want to show you guys that BitX or Bitcoin was up here, and it looked like it was maybe bull flagging, like maybe it was going sideways and wanted to go higher, but it went lower. And this is just another one of those indications that maybe we're starting to see some cracks out there. That if it was really pretty crazy and very strong out there, I would imagine Bitcoin would have kept going up, kind of like Ethereum kept going up. Hey, maybe Ethereum is stealing all of the thunder from Bitcoin, and so that's why it came down. But it is just aware that it pulled back. Makes sense to me. It seems like it was a little extended, and maybe it's just not the right environment for this thing to keep moving up right now. I am still bullish on Bitcoin. I still have a position, and having it pull back right now is totally fine because eventually if it pulls back a little bit more and then starts to go up, we can always add more whenever we find that turn. So right now, I'm just hanging on to the position that I have. And BMNR, speaking of Ethereum and Tom Lee and all that kind of stuff, we've been looking at this one. There's been a lot of attention on this name. There has been a lot of a volume. A lot of big names have been coming into this one as well. Kathy Woods. And I did take a trade right back here, and I got out right here because it just didn't look like it was going. And, if I were a bigger trader, sure, yeah, I'd have to get in. I'm buying millions of shares, and I got to kind of pick a position and just kind of sit on it. We as retail traders don't have to do that. I can get in and get out as quickly as I want, and I don't really need to buy a position and sit on this thing if it's just going to kind of rest for a while. I don't need to do that. So that's why when I noticed that this thing was not holding any moving averages on the lower time frame, I decided to get out. And it had a couple little other spurts trying to get going, but again, you can notice it is not holding any of the moving averages for a trend. So I'm going to wait until I see this thing actually hold trend, and again, might wait until a better market environment for this thing to move up. And so just another situation that I'm watching and just kind of waiting. I would love to be in this name at some point, but I just don't see the entry yet. Hey, maybe it's on Monday. Maybe it's a month from now. I don't know, but I don't see it right this moment. All right, if we look at Palantir, this is another name that has been going up. I got shaken out of this name quite a while ago, kind of in this area. And yeah, it's been doing well. It's been moving up. That's great. Just understand earnings. Again, everything has earnings coming up. And while it's been doing great, I really don't have much to say about it. It's been choppy, which is a little challenging for the kind of trading that I like to do. The only thing I'm going to point out is that it is around this upper trend line. So just be aware, if this name is going to keep going higher, it's going to seems to me it's going to have to either get more aggressive on the upside or it's going to have to keep following that upper trend line. But just be aware it could pull back in through this area and just plan accordingly. I was talking about this to the Moxie crew this week. I happened to notice that there was a channel, so I put these lines on, and I just want to mention that to you guys in case that visual kind of helps you out a little bit. All right, Lucid, you guys know that we did great on this one. Totally nailed this one, and I have not put on any more since the big news with Uber came out, but we already had our position. We had a position here and had a position here, and now price is up here. So very, very happy about this. Now, do we add more? Yeah, probably eventually. Do we do it before earnings? I don't know. I don't tend to like to do that. I already have two positions, so I'm kind of cool with whatever happens. But the fact that this thing is actually just going sideways, I think is good. It needs to digest. This was a big move. There is a lot of history. You can see that there is a lot of history back here. And so the fact that it didn't just continue run, that's totally fine with me. I have leaps on this thing. I have longer term plays. I'll have to see what happens for earnings. If it does go up on earnings, great. I will continue to just look for another spot. If it happens to kind of go down or do nothing in earnings, great. That'll give me more opportunity to even add more for the next time I think that it's going to go up. So I'm really just kind of waiting for this thing. It's a longer term play, and I don't have a clear setup right now. And if it comes down a little bit further, I'd actually really enjoy that, because I think having it pull back into support, I think would be a great thing, and then I can continue to add into it. Now, Grab has been doing great, and you can even look at Toast. I got chopped out of Toast too, but Toast continues to move up. Not that they're totally in the same sector, but kind of food situation is how I look at them. But yeah, Grab, we got an entry here, an entry here, and an entry here. So there are three great spots that we got into Grab, and now it's up here, and it's not quite breaking out, but it is getting above some of this kind of previous stuff. So I think Grab is looking fantastic. Once again, it's got earnings coming up. You're going to have to make a decision what you want to do. Do you want to get in before earnings? Do you want to risk earnings? I have a longer term position on this. I told everyone I am just sitting on this name. So anything happens for earnings, I'm just going to be along for the ride. I'm not going to do anything specifically for earnings, but it is looking nice. It's looking pretty healthy to me. Okay, and then SoFi, it also has earnings coming up. And this is a name that I've taken 2 profits on. So we got in right here. We took profits here, and we took profits here. I'd say that's pretty good. Now, SoFi, hey, maybe it goes up on earnings and I miss out on a big name with this thing. So be it. I've taken my profits on this thing. We made, 96% on the leverage ETF for this, so I'm pretty happy about it. I think I would be fine with it also coming down. If it comes down like that, I can get back in or add more to it at some point. So basically, I'm just really happy with this thing. I don't want to be chasing this. If it goes up on earnings, so be it. And I'm just going to be along for the ride at this point, and we'll see what the market provides. But that has been a really, really nice, healthy move for me. All right, open. Here you go. Here are some of the meme stocks. Let me get back to a different screen. Some craziness. Now, maybe you could say that there was a hint of reality with this thing, because I do think that housing is actually starting to look good and strong because of the idea of lower interest rates and an economy that seems to be doing okay. And so, sure, there was a nugget of truth that kept this thing moving up, but then it had a high short interest, and Wall Street bets and all that kind of stuff got onto this thing, and this thing just got crazy. I mean, ultimately, this thing went 700% and change. I mean, pretty wild. And so while I missed it on the upside, I was watching this thing when it was getting pretty darn crazy, and it was getting halted and all sorts of stuff. So a lot of action was going on this. But when I saw this thing move up and then totally come back down in the same day, I thought, that seems to me like that was the blow off top. That was probably it. And so the next morning, when it opened up at about $4, maybe $3 and change, I saw that and I was like, that's my opportunity to get in. It bounced, it gave me a perfect opportunity. That is where we shorted it right there. We took half off right here. And honestly, at this point, I know it's hovering around the hourly 50. I'm actually looking forward to continue back down. I don't know why this name would just keep going up right now. I think this was a glorified GameStop type situation, and I think that the upside run is over, and I'm short. So I'm going to see if that continues. As I said, we already took profits, and we'll see where this goes, but I just don't really see why this thing would keep moving up, and I think it's going to keep fading. So that's what I'm doing for that one. But if you look at Wolf, Wolf 100% is a garbage stock. When I put this out there, I told people, like, guys, look, it's a garbage stock. It's a meme stock. It's got 50% short interest. It also had a volume surge. I mean, you can see even a couple weeks ago, they tried doing the same thing, get that short squeeze going. And then this week, it looked like they were going to do it too. You could see price bumped up. You could see that it had volume here. And even, people were telling me, like, why are you trading this? It's got filed for bankruptcy. I said, I totally understand. I would never buy this stock, except that all these crazy stocks are popping up right now. We had GoPro, we had Kohl's, Flowers.com, all these crazy meme stocks were popping up and through here. So I said, well, let's see if this thing works. And so you can see I bought it right here. In the overnight, it was up again around $2. I thought, oh, okay, maybe this is going to get going. They even have it up in the overnight. And it tried, and it just double topped. And then after that double top came back down, I said, I think I missed the window. It didn't work. And so we got out. But you can see right here, they tried it again that morning. And when you could see double top and then it came back down, we got out right about there. Yeah, so it was fun. It was worth it. We wanted to see. Like we said, you have so much money after a huge bull run like this that people got some excess cash and house money. They're willing to throw it on things like this and see if it works. So I don't know. Keep an eye on this and see if maybe if the short squeeze idea works again on this, but just realize it's garbage stock. And, again, GoPro and Flowers.com have no reason to be running right now other than they've gotten the Wall Street bets and short squeezing and all that kind of stuff. It's the GameStop all over again. Okay, thanks again, guys. And just remember, if you guys are interested, we have that special coming up. We are ending it this week on Thursday. So $197 compared to $247, and you only have to sign up for 1 month at a time instead of the typical 1 quarter at a time. We have been having a great time in the Moxie Room. We have lots of people. In fact, if you sign up and you come into the Moxie Room and you look at the chat, you're going to see a lot of happy traders. Okay, guys? So we'll just see you there. Remember, simplertrading.com/Moxie-monthly. And we'll see you next week. Take care.